Hey, greetings there, everyone. It's GleeCon back again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last one, we talked about the Stone Talon Mountains and how they look in the world of Warcraft. Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting, filled with Venture Company goblins, and some battling Horde and Alliance. As we continue our main lore branch of the episodes, we're going to continue Cycle of Hatred with chapter 24, so stay a while and listen as we read the penultimate chapter of Cycle of Hatred. On our last one, Thrall came and shut it down, and we're pretty much at the finale here. Shut it down being his own traitorous orcs attacking the Northwatch Alliance. Not 5 minutes ago, Aegwynn had urged Zmodlor to cease his parlor tricks. The disembodied voice trick was probably menacing to the average person, but it was a simple trick that any first-year apprentice could pull off, so it didn't impress Aegwynn all that much. Now, seeing the huge, leathery-skinned, bat-winged, flame-eyed Zmodlor standing before her, she realized she should have kept her mouth shut. Demons on the whole were not pretty creatures, but Zmodlor was hideous even by their standards. Surrounding the demon were 8 hooded figures. These presumably were the warlocks who were chanting rhythmically. Jaina reached into her cloak and grabbed the scroll. Aegwynn was grateful, as it meant this would be over soon. Now that Zmodlor had revealed himself, Jaina would be able to cast the banishment. Suddenly, Jaina screamed and fell to the floor. "Jaina!" Aegwynn ran to the young mage's side. Lorena, good soldier that she was, moved to stand between the demon and Jaina. Sweat beaded on Jaina's forehead as she managed to get to her knees. Through clenched teeth, she said, "Warlocks, blocking the spell." This close, Aegwynn could feel the warlock spellcasting. It was fairly weak, though there were about a dozen of them, which added power to their spells. Still, a mage of Jaina's stature should have been able to punch through that, unless, of course, she'd overextended herself. Jaina was struggling. Aegwynn could feel it, but she was losing ground to Zmodlor's minions. "This is even better than I'd hoped. I'll make sure that the orcs are blamed for Proudmoore's death. It will send the humans into a frenzy. Nothing will stop them from going to war, and without her to guide them, they'll lose. But not before they kill as many orcs as possible. It will be glorious." "Like hell," Aegwynn muttered. There was only one thing for her to do. It had been almost 4 years since she brought Medivh back. That had drained all her magic at the time, as she told Jaina, but the magic never went away forever. 2 decades after she had escaped to Bladescar, she had built up enough magical power to bring back her son. While she hadn't regained anywhere near that much in the 4 years since, she might well have enough to do what was necessary. If not, well, she'd lived almost a full millennium. As Lorena had so eloquently pointed out, that was a lot more than most people got. Sweat was now pouring down Jaina's face. She was still kneeling, fists clenched and resting on her thighs. Aegwynn could feel the spell that she herself had written, struggling to push past the blocks the warlocks were putting up. Down on one knee at Jaina's side, Aegwynn grabbed the younger woman's left fist with both hands. She closed her eyes, gathered up her thoughts, her power, her very life essence. Focusing it, molding it, moving it, she channeled it all into her arms, then her forearms, then her hands, and then to Jaina. Fatigue rather suddenly overwhelmed her. Her bones felt heavy in her skin, her muscles ached as if she had just run a race, and her breaths came in shallow gasps. Ignoring all of it, Aegwynn continued to focus, willing her life, her magic, her very soul to Jaina Proudmoore. Jaina opened her eyes. Normally an icy blue, they were now fiery red. "No!" Simultaneously, both Aegwynn and Jaina said, "Yes!" "You cannot stop the burning blade. We will prevail over all, destroying everything in our path, and then we... Zmodlor's screams echoed, not only off the walls, but from the mouths of the warlocks who felt sympathetic agony through the bond the demon had with them. Though Aegwynn's vision was fading, she saw Zmodlor's hideous body twist and contort, ichor spewing from wounds that suddenly ripped open. A wind kicked up as the air itself was rent asunder by the spell Egwin had written, a portal to the twisting nether, pulling Zmodlor's body into the tear. No, I won't let you trap me again. The demon's words were cut off by his head being sucked in. But the screams continued from the warlocks, even as the ground shook under Egwin's unsteady legs. Moments later, they stopped as they too were sucked into the twisting nether, where they would suffer anguish several orders of magnitude worse than what they had planned for the residents of Kalimdor. The tear closed, but the cavern was still shaking. Showing the soldier's capacity for stating the obvious, Lorena said, "We've got to get out of here." But Egwin couldn't make her limbs move. Her arms and legs felt like dead weights, and it took all her energy just to keep her eyes open. One of the stalactites ripped from the cave roof with a sharp crack and impaled the floor less than a hand's breadth from where Egwin and Jaina both knelt. Egwin heard Jaina start to mutter the incantation for the teleport spell. Then she passed out. Alright, so Zmodlor banished, Burning Blade, temporary. This plot of theirs is defeated, but clearly they're a huge presence in the land. And we are on to the epilogue of Cycle of Hatred. One question that springs to my mind. I've read nothing in the lore so far that would explain why a PC could be accepted and work with the Alliance or Horde and yet be a warlock. So perhaps some in-game lore will explain why that's an accepted practice. Okay, thank you everyone so much for watching and for listening to another one. I appreciate you. This episode is in the pipe 5x5, and I look forward to seeing you all next time on Lore of Warcraft.